Morning, peeps. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. All right. Feels like I've not even slept. Maybe because I've not really slept. It's just coming up to 11 o'clock. So I've only slept a couple of hours, but I wanted to get this video done because we do have the Sunday session live coming up at 8 o'clock. A lot of you guys were asking me Anthony Yarde related questions in the live watch along. Save those questions for the Sunday session live. So make sure you join us at 8 o'clock. Should be a fun one. Loads to discuss. I think all the questions are going to be around Anthony Yarde. Is he now the best light heavyweight in the country? A lot of you were saying he is. I was ringside with Dan Aziz and Joshua Boaxi, who will certainly say he's not. But good performance from Anthony Yarde. We'll talk about that in a couple of minutes. Let's start, though, with the fight that finished a few hours ago. Devin Haney versus Jojo Diaz. Devin Haney winning that one by unanimous decision and defending his WBC lightweight belt immediately after the obviously pushing the Kambosos fight. What I like about him, and look, credit to him, I will travel. He's like, yeah, I will travel. I'll go to Australia because he knows you go in there, it's pretty much a lottery ticket if you win. It really is. I mean, to become undisputed, you then literally can call your number. You can call your number, you can pick your fight. So I like that. But let's talk about the fight first. There's something about Devin Haney. Look, before I say this, Devin Haney is a very, very good fighter. Very good. Can do a bit of everything, can't he? I don't know what he's superior in. And what I mean by that is, I don't know what he's a 10 in or a 9 in, but he's definitely a 7 in speed, 7 in defense, 7 in power, 7 in aggression, 7 in combination. Like literally he's a 7 in everything. I just don't know what he's a 9 or 10 in. That might come. Still quite young, still got a lot of growing in the sport to do. So he eventually could become a 10 in something. But for me, I don't get excited while watching these fights. Like yesterday, watching the fight, I was trying to get excited. I was like, okay, yeah, he's putting a couple of combinations. He's doing this, he's doing that. But there's a lot of single shots in there. And I want to see him maybe just put the pedal to the metal a little bit more. Just a little bit more aggression. And then I can maybe jump on board. There are still, and maybe there shouldn't be, right? I mean, he's had good wins against Gamboa, Linares, and now Jojo Diaz. So maybe there shouldn't be these question marks that I have over him. But for some reason, they still linger. They still linger for me. And I was reading a few, not that Twitter bloody is the Bible of comments, but I was reading some of the comments on Twitter, and a lot of people seem to have the same impression. Like, yeah, he's good, but that's what everyone kept saying. He's very good, but. So I think everyone's waiting for him to kind of just, I don't know, let go and just, I don't know, do a bit more. Because I think there's more in there. I really do that. There were times yesterday where he put it on Jojo Diaz and Jojo Diaz got uncomfortable. And I was thinking, do a bit more of that. You know, like when the 10-second clap, I hate when fighters do that. The 10-second clapper goes and then they start landing or throwing punches. Do that before. Do that before. So look, yeah, very, very good fighter. Very, very good win. And it is a good win because a lot of people were picking Jojo Diaz. A lot of people, by the way, especially on my live, a lot of people were saying Jojo Diaz is going to win. So for him to kind of shut out Jojo Diaz and not really face much adversity apart from a couple of body shots and a couple of good lefts from Diaz, there was nothing else really coming back from Diaz. So for him to come through that fire comfortably, there is a very, very good fighter there. I wonder, look, I'm not a fan of people turning into WWE gimmicks. It's not, I don't like it. I do wonder if there's something in that with him. The way Floyd turned from Pretty Boy Floyd to Money. And I'm thinking Eddie has this kind of like, people don't like Eddie in the States, it seems anyway, from the outside looking in. And I feel like this could be Eddie's biggest talent in the States. Obviously, Eddie does work with Canelo, but this is the one that's been with Eddie for quite a while now, although it does seem to be like a fight-by-fight contract now. But I almost feel like he could become the heel for Eddie. Does that make any sense? So people want to tune in to see him lose. Because right now it's very indifferent. James DeGill was a bit like that, where you didn't tune in because you didn't really want to see his fights. And plus you didn't really have any care if he lost or not. And I feel like Devin Haney is getting a bit like that. People used to tune in for Floyd and a bit for Prince Hassim Hamed to see them lose. So millions used to tune in just to see them get knocked out. And in Floyd's case, it never happened. So I almost feel like Devin could become something like that, where people tune in, like really piss people off, so they tune in to see you lose. Because right now, I feel like people are a bit indifferent about him. But look, very, very good win. It probably will be Kambosos next, the way in which they're setting the fight. And again, you've got to applaud the fact that he's willing to go to Australia, willing to travel. He said, look, I'll go to Jupiter. So he will go there. And I like that. 80,000. Is Kambosos really that guy? Like Kambosos keeps saying that number. Can he really get that number, 80,000? I mean, if he can, they'll crunch the numbers. And if it makes sense, then I'm sure that Devin Haney will fly out to Australia. Because look, you're flying out to become undisputed. I mean, if you can't go for that, then you can't go for anything. And then if you were to come back after being undisputed, then the world's his oyster. I mean, literally, it's a case of sign the check yourself, right? Whatever number you want on that check, because you're probably going to get it, because there are so many good fights out there for him now. But yeah, it's a good win. I just wasn't excited by it. I wasn't excited by that performance at all. Montana Love on the undercard is quite exciting. Man walked to the ring with a dog. I've never ever seen that in my life. A guy walked to the ring with a dog. I'm not a fan of it at all, if I'm honest with you. But look, he got the stoppage. Strange stoppage for me. The guy who was fighting Diaz was down 3 times in the round previous, and then Montana Love puts it on him in the next round. The guy's taking the things on the glove, and the referee steps in. Strange. We're going to talk about referees in a minute. Steve Gray, we're going to mention him. Bloody hell. But yeah, it's strange. But wins also on the card for the likes of Hrgovic. He's got to go now. They've got to find something for him. I mean, that guy yesterday might have been unbeaten, but that's the only thing the guy had. And wins on the undercard as well for Jessica McCaskill, who looked pretty spiteful in her performance. She could fight the winner of Chantel Cameron versus Callie Reese. I know she wants to not wait for that, because that fight's likely to be in the spring. I think she'll probably want to fight again in January, February, because that was easy work for her yesterday. But I mean, look, overall, decent card. Shame I went out there. My passport didn't come in time. If it did, I would have been out there. But yeah, decent. Let's talk about the card over here, which Frank Warren cards, by the way. I'm telling you now, and this is not a dig at Frank. Like, I'm happy to go there. I got accreditation via TalkSport. So again, let me not sound ungrateful, but they're far too long, man. Like, why do main event cards, main event cards should start around 5. Main events should start around 8, 9. Why is Anthony Yarde walking to the ring at 10 past 11? Makes no sense. It's ridiculous. I mean, people were hanging on yesterday, like, oh God, when is it going to start? But look, you'll forget about that when the fight does start, because it was a good fight. It was a good fight for Yarde. Yarde just looked far too strong. Yarde is massive. Like, his back is like a is it a python or is it a cobra? But anyway, you know what I'm talking about. His back's like that. It's ridiculous. But yesterday, he did what I wanted him to do and what I think people have been screaming for him to do for ages. Start fast early. Like, Yarde is very, very comfortable and almost a bit just laid back. That's his character, quite laid back. Yesterday, from the very first second, he was like, nope, we're going to go for it. I'm going to trust my gas tank. In fact, I don't care about my gas tank, because I know I'm going to get you out of there. So I'm going to put it on you from round 1. And that's what he did. He stamped his authority on the fight immediately. Credit to Arthur, who withstood the early onslaught. Had a good round 2, was pushing Yarde back to the ropes, landed a couple of good jabs, landed a couple of good right hands. I was ringside and I was like, oh, that's a big right hand. Dan Aziz was next to me and he was like, nah, Yarde can eat those all day. So I'm guessing Yarde and Dan Aziz have sparred before, and maybe Dan Aziz has landed a couple of good rights as well. But he was like, Yarde can eat them. Like, Yarde can take a punch. And I think Yarde can as well. I remember saying that the Kovalev fight was just him tired rather than him hurt. He just looked shattered in that fight. But yeah, Lyndon Arthur landed a couple of good jabs, was able to push Yarde back onto the ropes, was almost bullying Yarde size-wise, because, Lyndon Arthur's a bit bigger, and he's probably on the night weighed a bit more as well, but Yarde was able to regroup in round 3. Really, towards the end of round 3, he landed about a 6 or 7 punch combination. And again, I like that. Light heavies that are thrown combinations, I really love. It goes back to what I was saying about Devin Haney doing these single shots. Come on, man, combinations. Yarde landed a 6 or 7 punch combination, smiled at Arthur, and Arthur looked a bit like, oh, I'm not enjoying this anymore. Because prior to that, Arthur was ringside looking at us. There was a Yarde fan next to us. He was screaming. Arthur was looking at him and smiling. Arthur was looking at Tunde Ajayi. He looked like he was enjoying himself in there. Round 4, Yarde came out like a man possessed, and bloody hell. Yarde, when he sits on his punches, the noise of them ringside, it's something to behold. It really is. I mean, this guy has got power in both hands, legit power. And that was by far Yarde's best performance, like really, really good performance. The pressure of going into a fight with someone that you thought you beat last time, you called for the rematch. You've been a bit arrogant in the build-up, like, you'll get the job done. Tunde is, as Tunde always is, You've got to go out there and perform, and he performed. He performed really, really well against, again, an unbeaten fighter. Let's give Arthur some credit. Unbeaten going into that fight. So I thought it was a really solid performance from Anthony Yarde, a statement performance. I mean, everyone keeps going back and forth as to who the best light heavyweight is in the country. I think some were saying prior to last night, Callum Johnson or Boatsi. Some were even saying Dan Aziz because of the Hosea Burton performance, maybe Callum Smith because of what he's done at 168 pounds. You have to chuck Yarde right in there. Some might say you put Yarde at the top of that. Like, who has the best win out of all the light heavies? Like, who has? I think Boatsi with Bolotniks, I think, is a solid win. I think Dan Aziz beating Burton is solid. But I think Lyndon Arthur, in the way in which Yarde, in the way in which he got rid of Lyndon Arthur, might be the best win of all the light heavies. It might be. I'm not sort of, 100% rubber stamping that, but it might be the best win. But yeah, look, I was really excited by it, really excited. I want to quickly talk about Hamza Shiraz and Bradley Skeet. I thought it was a masterful performance from rounds 1 to 7 from Bradley Skeet. Really good performance, especially considering that, Bradley Skeet's been an inactive fighter for the last 2-3 years. Hamza Shiraz coming in, heavy favourite, house fighter as well, really. I mean, Frank loves him. I know they're both with Frank, but Frank loves Hamza Shiraz, always talks about him, and rightly so. He's a very good 154-pounder. He was being embarrassed a bit in that fight. Bradley Skeet looked as good as I've ever seen Bradley Skeet, by the way. His movement was good. When he needed to kind of stand and trade a little bit, he did it, but then was out of the pocket. Embarrassed Hamza. Like, he made Hamza look a bit silly at times. I thought, and I said this to someone, I said Bradley Skeet is winning the fight, but Hamza looks like he might win the war here. But just because Bradley Skeet's way of fighting, that in and out, and it takes a lot of energy, and he did start to slow down in round 8. Round 9, he got put down. We all saw it, right? He got put down in the corner, or it was a slip. It seemed like a bit of a slip and a punch, but then he got hit with 2 big shots whilst down. Without question, that's a disqualification. Without question. It's not even a discussion. It's not even a case of Bradley Skeet stays down, because some people are saying he should have stayed down. No. You take it out of Bradley Skeet's hand. Boxers are fighters. They're warriors. They'll get up. They'll have a go. Even though Domingo was like, stay the fuck down. I was looking at Dom as the fight's going on. Dom was like, stay down. But anyway, look, he got up. Steve Gray, I think it was. That fight should have been waived. He didn't waive that fight for one reason and one reason only. Hamza Shiraz is a Frank Warren fighter. This is a Frank Warren show. If that wasn't a away fighter, we saw it when Martinez done the same thing to Charlie Edwards. It's an immediate disqualification. We saw Roy Jones Jr. lose his O. He's O on a disqualification. Roy Jones. Hamza Shiraz should have been disqualified, and Bradley Skeet should have been declared the winner. And they would have done a rematch, and then, we can have another discussion. He didn't recover from those 2 punches. Those were big shots. Big shots. He only stayed down for about 40 seconds, then decided to continue, and then went down again in that round, and then went down and got stopped in the round after. Look, I like Hamza Shiraz as a fighter, and I can understand. I've seen fighters do those type of things where instincts is just to continue, but the guy's down, man. He's not down on one knee, he's down, he's out, and you're hitting him twice. That changed the course of the fight. So look, I don't know what the British Boxing Board of Control are going to do. Probably nothing, if I'm honest with you, but very, very disappointing. I remember when Martinez fought Charlie Edwards, and the WBC immediately ringside changed it to a no contest, I think. Or just, do you remember that? So, it'll be interesting to see what the British Boxing Board of Control are going to do. I suspect they'll do nothing, but I'm outraged by it. I think it was disgraceful, but yeah, that's just how it is, by the way. One fight I quickly want to talk about is George Fox. I just want to see what round it ended in again. Heavyweight fight against Sokolowski. Sokolowski got the victory. Remember, Sokolowski was over here against Adelaide. A lot of people thought he beat Adelaide, but he didn't get the result. He got the result this time against against George Fox. Look, George Fox. The best way to describe that performance was George Fox is known as a sparring partner for a lot of people. Spars Tyson Fury, spars a lot of the heavyweights. Obviously, there's a big guy himself. What is he, 6'6", 6'7"? So you can understand why he's used a lot of sparring. It was almost treating it like a sparring session, and he couldn't get out of, I'm going to call it sparring gear. Couldn't get out of sparring gear. Not even gear 1, gear 2, sparring gear. So that's below gear 1. And in the end, Sokolowski got the right result. I thought And a few people thought ringside that they might try and do a funny one and give it a draw and you get away with it, kind of like what they did when they gave it to Adelaide. But no, that they gave it to the right person. And for George Fox, obviously it's disappointing. That would have been his 5th win. And then you start looking at what's around, Solomon Dakers, Adelaide, start trying to match him up. They still might match him up, but yeah, there's a lot to do there with George Fox, a lot to do. All right, let's quickly see if there's any news before we pack things up. Golovkin says he feels great, not even thinking about retirement. No, he shouldn't. 39, couple more fights in Golovkin, a lot of money on the table, a lot of money. If he was a fighter that had been for a lot of punishment in his career, I would have said, called it quits. But apart from the Derevanchenko fight, he hasn't been through too many punishing fights. People will say Canelo. Yeah, possibly, but the Derevanchenko one was the one that was like, geez, a bit worrying. Mayweather open to helping Joshua prepare for Usyk rematch. Don't know. Again, for what Joshua needs is almost like a mentality monster around him, and Mayweather's got that. I don't know about helping him in terms of being a trainer or anything, but in terms of just maybe sitting him down and having conversations, why not? Anything else? Let's have a quick look. A bit here about Gervonta Davis and Isaac Cruz erupt at weigh-in. I was going to do the live watch along, but I can't do it. I'm tired. I can't do it. We'll do a video about it on Monday, but no live watch along, unfortunately, for Gervonta Davis. I'm just going to be too tired to go to work the next day, and I've got quite a lot to do at work. Yeah, I think that is it. Much appreciated. Is Yarde the best light heavyweight in the country? Remember, join us at 8 o'clock and we shall discuss. Peace.